Elena woke to the sound of wind against the windows, the soft murmur of morning. She smiled, reflexively. Today was her birthday. 68. She reached for her phone, heart quiet but hopeful. 6:58 a.m. No calls, no messages, nothing. They're probably still sleeping, she whispered. But she knew. Her children were early risers, busy, capable, endlessly connected. They posted every part of their lives. Except her. By 9 a.m., silence had grown thick. She made tea, sat in her rocker by the window, the one where she used to rock her babies. Now it only held her. She opened Facebook. Her granddaughter had posted a sunrise picture. A few friends had commented, "Beautiful day." Elena clicked on an old album, her 50th birthday, surprise party, her children, her grandchildren, cake and laughter. She remembered her son hugging her and whispering, "You're the glue, Ma. Without you, we'd all fall apart." Funny how glue gets discarded when the job's done. Noon came. Still no word. She opened the family group chat. Last message. 4 days ago, granddaughter's soccer game. She typed, "Well, looks like I've been forgotten. Don't worry, I remember." 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. Her fingers hovered, and then, almost by reflex, she dialed her son's number. He picked up after 3 rings. "Hey, Ma." His voice was rushed, distracted. "I was just about to call you," he lied. She smiled weakly. "It's okay. Just wanted to hear your voice." A pause. He sighed. "Look, can we talk later? Work's a mess today. And honestly, I didn't even realize it was the 21st. Elena said nothing. And then he added, without malice, without thinking, "It's just a day, Ma. Don't take it personal. Just a day. Her birthday. The day she gave birth to him. The day her own mother had called her every year until the day she died. The day her late husband used to spend baking lemon cake from scratch, burning it every time. Just a day." She swallowed. "Of course, I understand." "Love you," he said. She whispered it back. The line went dead, but something else died with it too. At 6 p.m., she walked to the bakery 3 blocks away, bought a single slice of lemon cake, her favorite. Back home, she placed a candle in the middle, lit it. "Happy birthday, Elena," she whispered, and blew it out. The candle died without resistance. So did the hope. She walked to her desk, opened the locked box her husband had left behind. Inside, the inheritance check, untouched. Reserved for emergencies, for family, for them. She didn't hesitate. Opened her laptop, typed, "Private homes for sale, coastal, quiet, gated." Scrolled, then paused. There it was, a villa, golden, gated, built into a cliff facing the sea. Alone, but not lonely. She whispered, "Let them forget me. I'll remember myself." And tapped schedule a viewing. Without a word, Elena exited the family group chat. A quiet goodbye from the woman who had held their entire world together. Elena didn't sleep that night. Not from sadness. Not even from anger. It was something colder. Clearer. Like ice finally becoming glass. She sat by the window until dawn, her hands resting on the inheritance check. The one she'd never touched. The one meant for family, for them. But they had made it clear. They didn't need her. So, what would it look like to do something for herself? For once. By 8 a.m., she was dressed in a simple gray coat, hair tied back, pearls in her ears. Small ones, worn like armor. She stepped into the Montecito real estate office just as the staff was unlocking the doors. A young receptionist smiled at her with half-interest. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Elena looked her square in the eye. "I want something quiet, with gates, ocean-facing, if possible, and I'd like to see it today." The receptionist blinked, unsure whether to offer coffee or call security. Instead, she paged Angela Rivera, the office's most polished agent. Angela arrived moments later, all red lips and real estate charm. Elena recognized the type. Beautiful, sharp, used to being underestimated. They'd get along just fine. Angela smiled. How soon are you looking to move? Immediately, Elena said, then pulled the folded check from her purse, laid it gently on the desk. Angela's eyes widened, just enough to show she understood. Within the hour, they were in Angela's sleek black car, winding up the Pacific coast. Angela talked too much at first, tried to fill the silence with property values and previous owners and ocean light. Elena let her talk. She was too busy watching the sea. Each curve in the road felt like a memory she was letting go of. The birthdays she threw for her children, the night she stayed up sewing a Halloween costume no one thanked her for, the anniversaries she spent alone after her husband died, because the kids were too busy this year. Every wave that crashed against the cliffs felt like a chapter closing. Then the gates appeared, black iron, ornate, unyielding. Behind them, a long driveway stretched up to a villa bathed in golden sun, arched windows, terracotta tiles, wildflowers curling around the edges. Angela slowed the car. This is the Gold Crest Villa, she said. Been on the market a while. Most people want something flashier. Elena didn't answer. She stepped out slowly, closed the car door, stood still. The ocean breeze tangled her silver hair. She looked up at the house, the sky, the quiet. It didn't feel like an escape. It felt like a return. Angela gave the tour: chef's kitchen, library with built-in shelves, courtyard with an old fig tree, a sunroom that overlooked the sea. But Elena had stopped listening. She stood in that sunroom, bathed in light, hands behind her back like a headmistress surveying her kingdom. I'll take it, she said softly. Angela blinked. Sorry? I'll take it. No negotiation. Full price. Angela looked at her, then smiled. For the first time, it wasn't condescending. It was respectful. Of course, she said. Let's get the papers started. That evening, Elena stood at the center of her new villa. The keys were cold in her hand. The house echoed with stillness. Not loneliness, stillness. She took off her shoes, walked barefoot across stone floors, ran her fingers along the windowsill, touched the wall like it was skin. And then she laughed, not loudly, not bitterly, just freely, as if her body had finally remembered how to sound when no one was watching. She found a bottle of white wine in the cellar, left by the previous owner. She opened it, took a sip, walked out to the balcony and looked at the sea. Below her, the gates stood tall, untouched, closed. Elena raised her glass. To me, she said, finally. The next morning, she posted a photo on Facebook, not of herself, just the villa's archway in shadow, sunlight curling behind it. No caption, just one line. Some parties are better alone. She closed the app, deleted all her birthday reminders, and slid the phone into a drawer. From deep inside the house, a voice called gently. Hello? You must be Elena? I'm Mia, the caretaker. I stayed behind. Elena turned slowly and smiled. The kitchen smelled of lemon oil and old bread. The light in the hallway tilted golden as the sun climbed. Birdsong drifted in through the shutters. It was the kind of morning you never get in a family home. No one needed her. And somehow, she wasn't afraid of that anymore. She met Mia at breakfast, late 40s, sturdy hands, soft eyes. I've been here 16 years, Mia said, placing down a plate of figs and toast. Caretaker, cook. Unofficial historian, I suppose? Elena poured herself tea. Why didn't you leave when the house was empty? Mia smiled. Some houses don't like being alone. They hold things, stories. If someone doesn't listen, they start to fade. Elena liked her immediately. She wasn't chatty. She didn't fill silence with nonsense. She respected stillness. Later that day, Elena explored the West Wing. Rooms unused, dusted, but quiet. She opened an old wardrobe and found a navy coat still hanging. A woman's perfume faint on the collar. Not floral, spiced. Confident. She opened a drawer. Inside, a yellowed envelope with no name. She didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, she stood at the tall window that looked out over the cliffs. The waves crashed far below, endless and unapologetic. And that's when the ache returned. Not sadness? Memory? She remembered her daughter at 14, screaming that she hated her. Her son at 21, walking out with a bag and saying, "I just need space, Ma. You wouldn't understand." They had meant those things in the moment. But the moments lasted longer than they'd know. That night, she sat in the sunroom with a blanket and a book she didn't read. Outside, the wind pushed against the windows, and the house whispered. Not words, just echoes. Of footsteps she hadn't taken, of rooms she hadn't entered, and in the middle of it all, her own voice inside her head, asking a question she hadn't dared to before. What if they never come back? Not because they forgot, but because they no longer felt the need to. She exhaled slowly and answered herself, then they won't. And maybe that was okay. The next morning, she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten, crisp. But it wasn't for her. It was dated 7 years ago, addressed to someone named Clarissa. The writing was elegant, precise. Elena read slowly. You may think you earned this house, Clarissa. But walls don't forget betrayal. I left it untouched so it could speak for itself. When the next woman walks these halls, she'll know the truth. I made sure of it. There was no signature. Elena stared at the letter. Her pulse slowed. The villa didn't just hold history, it held unfinished business. She placed the letter back carefully. Didn't tell Mia, not yet. Instead, she walked through the halls again, this time listening. Really listening. To the soft hum in the walls, to the secrets in the floorboards, to the strange familiarity of a place she'd just arrived in, but somehow already understood. The house didn't feel haunted. It felt alive, and for the first time in years, so did she. That night, as she turned off the lights, she noticed something strange. One of the portraits in the hallway had been turned to face the wall. She hadn't touched it. Elena had spent the morning drinking tea in her sunroom. The sea was calm. Light filtered through tall shutters. Her heart felt for once steady. Then the phone rang. It was her daughter. Elena, darling, are you in your new home now? We wanted to surprise you. Thought we could come up this weekend. The voice was warm, hesitant, full of things unsaid. Elena's throat tightened. She wanted to say no. She wanted to say, you forgot me once. What makes you think I won't let you forget again? But instead, she said nothing. Later, as dusk painted the sky in bruised purple, she heard a car approach the driveway. From inside the villa, she watched through tall windows, a large SUV rounding the gates, then another. Lights in the foyer. Her chest sank. They had come. Her daughter was the first to burst through the front door, hugging her fast, long, almost too familiar. Mom, this place is, wow, it's beautiful. Her son followed, softer, rubbing his eyes. Ma, we missed you. Her grandchildren came too, shy and wide-eyed at every echoing hallway. They had driven all this way. Some distance, some discomfort, some suggestion that they were doing something brave. Over dinner, the house filled with voices, laughter, apologies, old stories. Her daughter tracing the edge of a plate. I know I wasn't there. I didn't know what to say. Her son said quietly, Work, Ma. I got so wrapped up in everything, I lost track. Grandkids threw crumbs, asked about rooms, about stories. They wanted her to tell them about the birthdays from when she used to paint balloons on the walls, about Halloween costumes she'd painstakingly sewn. Elena listened. She really did. She felt the swell in her chest, hope, maybe, or vulnerability. Her daughter said, We saw the pictures, the villa. You looked so peaceful. I'm sorry we waited to see. Her son looked at Elena's hands on the table. They trembled slightly. I called today, Mom. But I heard you were upset. I didn't push. Her granddaughter asked, Why did you move away, Grandma? She said she needed a place where she could remember who she was. Her daughter answered, watching Elena closely. Then something unexpected slipped out of her son's mouth, unintended but sharp. You know, Ma, It's hard sometimes. We never thought you needed space. It was quiet, barely more than a whisper. Everyone's fork paused. The grandchildren looked between the adults. Her daughter's face went pale. Elena stared. Needed space. In that moment, Elena saw it clearly. How easily they had erased her feelings, dismissed her pain, assumed she would be okay because they loved her, or thought they did. She swallowed, her voice steady as she set down her glass. "No one ever asked me if I needed space," she said. "Assumed I was fine because I didn't complain. But your absence was loud, too loud to ignore." Her daughter's eyes glistened. Her son opened his mouth to speak, closed it. The room quieted. Elena stood. Light from the chandelier warmed the marble. Her grandchildren scrambled away. Her children, still seated. She walked to the grand front window, looked down at the ornate gates, closed, black iron, gold inlays. She said softly, "Thank you for coming, but I'm not the mother I used to be. I need to know, are you here for me, or for what I was?" Her son lowered his head. Her daughter wiped tears. The grandchildren fidgeted. Elena turned away, went to the hallway, past portraits of previous owners, an elegant woman in embroidered gowns, looking straight at whoever stands before her. She picked up her coat, walked to the door, opened it. "I think some rooms are still mine alone," she said. Her daughter reached out. "Mom, please." Her son stepped forward. "Ma." But Elena shook her head. She left the door open a crack. Let the night's ocean breeze swirl in. Let them see the house, see her world. But she didn't invite them in. As the SUVs pull away and the dust settles at the gates, Elena stands alone on the porch. She holds the envelope she found in the West Wing, and she hears a whisper from behind the walls. They always return when they want something. Elena rose before the sun. The villa was still, its stone bones cool beneath her feet. Somewhere down the east hall, a child mumbled in sleep. Somewhere else, a phone buzzed quietly against wood. But here, in her corner of the house, it was sacred. Her air, her rules, her dawn. She sipped tea on the terrace, watching the clouds turn peach over the Pacific. Mia joined her with quiet steps and tired eyes. "They're still asleep," Mia said. Elena nodded. "Of course they are." By mid-morning, the house had stirred. Her daughter appeared in the kitchen, still in silk pajamas, scrolling on her phone. "Do you still make those muffins, Mom? The banana ones with the little chocolate chips?" Elena nodded, wiping the counter clean. "I used to." Her daughter smiled awkwardly. "Maybe we could make some today? For the kids?" Elena handed her the mixing bowl and pointed to the pantry. 10 minutes later, her daughter was sighing in frustration, the batter too thick, the phone still in her other hand. Her son walked in later, yawning. "Elena," he said, like he wasn't sure if Mom still fit in his mouth. "Where do you keep the coffee?" She pointed without answering. He poured himself a mug, then sank into a chair with his phone. She placed a small box near him. "Could you take this upstairs for me?" He didn't even look up. "Later. I'm still catching up on emails." The grandchildren ran through the halls, too loud for the old stone walls. One knocked over a small vase in the sitting room, glass shattered on marble. No one scolded, no one apologized. Elena swept it up herself. Quietly. At lunch, Mia leaned in beside her and whispered, "It's strange. When people return, not because they miss you, but because they miss what you used to do for them." Elena nodded slowly. "I used to cook for them, fix them, fill them." Mia said nothing, because she understood. That afternoon, her youngest granddaughter wandered toward the West Wing, the forbidden wing. Elena found her standing at the old bookshelf near the sealed cabinet. Tiny fingers just brushing the envelope she'd hidden back behind a row of dustless novels. "Is this a treasure map, Grandma?" Elena crouched beside her. "It's something like that," she whispered. "But some treasures are best left buried." The child nodded solemnly, put the envelope back, and skipped away. Dinner was a performance. Elena set the table. Polished old silverware that hadn't seen the light since her husband's funeral. They all gathered, daughter in pearls, son in a clean polo, children in matching pajamas, as if someone had finally remembered how to behave. Her son raised a glass. To new beginnings, and remembering what matters. The table murmured in agreement. Elena smiled, but didn't drink. Instead, she watched them all. They laughed, told old stories, spoke of plans to visit more often. Her daughter said, "We've just missed you, Mom. That's all." Elena tilted her head, like a woman listening to a distant sound no one else could hear. And maybe she was. That night, she sat at her writing desk for the first time in years, opened a fresh notebook, wrote one line. Let them stay. Watch who leaves on their own. She walked the hallway again. Stopped at the portrait that had turned itself to face the wall days ago. Now it faced forward again. The woman in the frame had sharp eyes and tighter lips. She looked like someone who used to love too much. Until it cost her. Elena looked back at her. They nodded to each other. She returned to the sunroom. The moon hung low outside the window. Her chair waited. The sea breathed in the distance. But something was off. A candle was already lit on the table. She hadn't lit it. And next to it, the envelope. Open. Inside, the letter. The same handwriting. But now, a second page she hadn't seen before. The house knows the difference between visitors and intruders. It always reveals what needs to be seen, especially to the woman brave enough to stay. Elena's hands trembled, but her heart? Steady. She placed the letter back into the envelope and blew out the candle. The next morning, later that night, she placed a note on each of their doors. No names, just 5 words. Be honest or be gone. No one mentioned it in the morning, but no one looked her in the eye either. That evening, Elena finds her journal has been moved, a page torn out. On her writing desk, someone has left her false will, with one word scribbled across it in red ink. Liar. Rain came that morning, soft at first, then heavy, pressing against the villa's high windows like a warning. Mia said nothing over breakfast. She just poured Elena's tea slowly, carefully, like silence had become sacred. Elena's daughter hovered by the fire, speaking less, smiling more. Too much. The air felt off. Even the children seemed subdued, like the villa had whispered to them in their dreams. By midday, the house felt heavier. Doors that once opened easily creaked. The garden gate slammed once, no wind, and Elena felt something she hadn't in weeks. Uncertainty, not fear, but the kind of tension that comes when something is about to break, and you're not sure which part of it is you. Her granddaughter approached quietly. Grandma, have you seen Uncle James? Elena frowned. No, I thought he left days ago. The girl looked confused. No, he came back last night. I saw him. He was in the hallway. He had your red notebook. Elena froze. My notebook? The child nodded. I think he was reading it. By evening, James was nowhere to be found. His bag was still in the guest room. His coat still hanging by the door. His toothbrush damp, but no sign of him. They searched the villa, room by room. Elena, methodical, her daughter, frantic. At the entrance, Mia stood beside the locked gates, arms crossed. No one's come in or out today, she said. Elena believed her, which meant one thing. James was still inside the house. Dinner was canceled. Arguments rose like smoke. Her daughter demanded answers. The grandchildren cried. The tension finally ignited. You've made this house into a test, her daughter shouted. You're manipulating everyone, playing games like we're strangers. Elena stood calm, unmoved. You are strangers, she said. You proved that the moment you forgot me. Her daughter's face crumpled. You're cruel. Elena turned her back to her. No, I'm finally honest. That night, Elena walked the halls alone. Every mirror reflected a different version of her. Young, old, tired, sharp. She stopped at the guest room where James had stayed, opened the drawer. Inside, her torn journal page, the fake will, a recording tape, and a matchbox from a hotel she'd never visited. She whispered, "What were you looking for, James?" And somewhere in the house, a door slammed. Mia found her by the staircase. "He's gone," Mia said softly. Elena looked up. "He's hiding." Mia shook her head. "No, he's gone." "How do you know?" Mia's voice was cold. "Because this house only hides what it wants to keep, and it doesn't want him." Elena barely slept. The house groaned. Not like it was breaking, but like it was shifting, rearranging, rewriting its own story. She walked back to the west wing, her candle flickering, stopped at the sealed door, ran her hand across the engraving. The tree, the empty branches, and now a new word had appeared beneath it, etched, fresh. Liar. By morning, her daughter was packing. "You've gone mad," she said. "This house is changing you." Elena nodded. "You're right." Her daughter blinked. "I am?" "Yes," Elena said. "It's reminding me who I was before I gave everything away." Mia stood at the gates as the car pulled out. Only 3 left now. Elena, Mia, and the house. Or maybe just 2. Because Mia, it seemed, was part of the house. Not the help, not the guest, the memory. Elena returned to the library. On the table, a new envelope. Inside, a single sentence written in her own handwriting, though she had never written it. "You've passed the first test. Now open the room." Elena stood before the door. The one with the bare tree carved into its center. The one that had denied her again and again. But now, it was different. The air around it pulsed gently, like breath. The wood warm beneath her palm. She held the note in her other hand. "You've passed the first test. Now open the room." She didn't remember writing it, but she knew it was hers. There was no key, no click, no lock to fight. The door simply opened, and inside, a small room, stone walls, a window cut high in the curve of the ceiling, dust on every surface. Except one, a table, with 2 chairs and a bottle of red wine, uncorked, breathing. Elena stepped inside. No fear, no resistance. Only one emotion stirred quietly in her chest. Recognition. This room wasn't built to hide. It was built to hold. Hold what people bury, what they run from, what they think time will erase. This was not a secret chamber. This was a listening room. She sat. The wine poured itself into the glass. She didn't question how. Not anymore. The house was no longer performing tricks. It was speaking. And finally, she was fluent. She picked up the glass, sipped slowly. The taste was rich, aged, bittersweet, like something that had waited decades to be understood. And then she whispered, without planning to, "I was always the one who stayed. When Dad died, when Paul left, when the kids got busy, I stayed. I didn't ask for anything back, not even once, and still, they left." Her voice cracked, but her spine stayed straight. "And when they finally came back, they didn't ask how I was. They asked what I had." The candle in the room burned without melting. Time slowed, and so Elena kept speaking. "I didn't just raise them. I bent for them. I shrunk myself to fit every role, every excuse, every guilt trip." She shook her head. And all they had to say was, "It's just a day, Mom." She drank again, not to forget, but to feel it fully. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. The room didn't care. And then, a quiet knock. Mia stepped inside. She said nothing, simply sat across from her. A second glass was already waiting. They drank together, in silence, the way people do when the worst is over and the healing has to begin. Slowly. Finally, Mia spoke. "You were chosen because you remember everything they'd rather forget." Elena looked up. "And now?" Mia smiled. "Now you get to decide what stays buried." Later that night, Elena returned to the main house. Her daughter had returned again, alone, tearful. "I left," she said, "but I couldn't stay gone." Elena nodded. "I know." They sat together in the courtyard, under string lights that hadn't been turned on in years. A soft breeze carried the scent of sea salt and rosemary. Her daughter broke first. "I wasn't there when you needed me, and I blamed you for needing anything at all." Elena said nothing. Because that was the truth, and sometimes silence is the only answer strong enough to honor it. Her daughter continued. "Dad always made you the bad guy. He'd mess up, and you'd clean it. You'd cry, and he'd call you dramatic." Elena nodded. "I know. And then when he died, I expected you to just keep going. Like nothing broke." Now it was Elena who looked away. "I did keep going." They didn't hug. Not yet. But they sat together until the sun threatened the edge of the world again. And when her daughter finally whispered, "I want to earn my way back in," Elena answered softly, "Then stay. But listen. In the West Wing, the sealed room now sits open. The bottle of wine is empty. And beneath the table, carved gently into the wood, a single word that wasn't there before. Worthy? Elena had always written letters she never sent. Notebooks full of them, to her children, to her late husband, to herself. Some bitter, some soft, all honest. They were her confessions, her memories, her map out of silence. She kept them in a small, locked drawer in her study, beneath the ink pens and the folded napkin with her mother's recipe written in grease pencil. They were never meant to be found. But the lock was old, and someone had pried it open. It happened the morning after the wine room. Elena returned to her study, noticed the drawer slightly ajar, papers disheveled, a pen rolling gently on the desk. At first she thought she'd forgotten to lock it, until she saw the missing notebook. The red one. The one with the real letters inside. Mia was the first to speak. "I saw her," she said quietly. "Your granddaughter." She had the notebook in the hallway. Looked afraid. Elena closed her eyes. Not in anger, in ache. Because the words inside were raw. Things she'd written late at night. Dark thoughts. Moments of doubt. Ugly honesty. Things children never expect to hear from their mother or grandmother. Later that afternoon, her daughter entered the library, holding the notebook, face pale, hands shaking. "You wrote that I drained you," she said softly, "that I treated you like a burden." Elena stood still. "I also wrote that I loved you beyond exhaustion." Her daughter flipped the page. "You said Dad made you small." "I was small," Elena replied. "Because I kept making room for everyone else." Her daughter's eyes filled. "You wrote that you wanted to disappear." Elena finally stepped forward. "I didn't write those things for you to find. I wrote them so I wouldn't go numb." The house was quiet that night. Not still, not peaceful. Quiet like a storm that hasn't picked its direction yet. Mia made soup. Elena didn't eat. The children played quietly, sensing something had shifted. Elena sat in the sunroom, notebook in her lap. Red cover now smudged, pages folded, creased by unfamiliar hands. She read one aloud. "They'll never understand how loud the silence gets when you're only called when something is needed. Love, it turns out, isn't what you give. It's what they remember you gave when they think you're gone." She closed the notebook and wept, not because they read her truths, but because they still hadn't heard her. The next morning, her granddaughter came to her, small, shaky, holding something behind her back. "I didn't mean to," she said. Elena looked down at her, so young, too young to carry the weight of someone else's pain. "I just wanted to read what you thought about me. I thought it would be good." Elena crouched slowly, took her hand. "It was good," she said. "You just opened a wound that was still healing." Her granddaughter pulled out a drawing, stick figures holding hands in front of the villa. One had a gray bun and a red notebook. Elena smiled and kissed her forehead, but the damage wasn't done echoing. That afternoon, Mia handed her a sealed envelope. It was slipped under the garden door. Inside, a copy of one of the letters. The darkest one, not handwritten, printed, and at the bottom scrawled in unfamiliar writing. This is the real you. No name, no return. Just threat. Elena sat in her sunroom again, notebook open, the wine room key beside her, and one new sentence written in the margin. I don't regret what I wrote. I regret who read it before I was ready. That night, Mia came running up from the west wing. Elena, she whispered, breathless. There's someone in the sealed room. What do you mean? Mia looked terrified. I mean the door closed again, and I didn't open it. And behind that door, they both heard it, a whisper, a woman's voice, laughing. The house was too quiet that night. Not the peaceful quiet Elena had grown to cherish. This was sharp, watched. She sat in her room, door closed, windows open to the cold ocean air. But behind the door, she heard them. First, low murmurs, then footsteps, and then her name, not spoken with love, spoken like a problem that needed solving. She's not well. She's paranoid. This house is doing something to her. It wasn't the words that hurt Elena most. It was who was saying them. Her daughter, her granddaughter. Even Mia's voice, soft, conflicted. She writes things she never tells us. She's hiding something. She's letting the house change her. Elena stood, put her ear to the wood. Her hand didn't shake. Her jaw didn't clench. Because she'd heard this before. As a wife. As a mother. As a woman who felt too much. She's overreacting. She's sensitive. She's just tired. They thought she was sleeping. They thought she was weak. But Elena had never been stronger. At dawn, she made coffee, set the table, laid out plates, forks, fruit, and waited. When they entered the room, stiff and awkward, she gestured to the seats. I heard you, she said plainly. Her daughter's mouth fell open. I wasn't. Elena held up a hand. No explanations, just honesty. They sat. No one spoke. So she began. You want to know what I'm hiding? Why this house matters? Why I lock doors and ask questions and move like someone who knows something? They didn't nod, but they listened. Elena reached for the wine room key, placed it on the table. I was given this house years before I knew I'd need it, she said. The woman who lived here left it for someone forgotten by their own family. Someone who gave and was left behind. Her daughter's eyes filled, but Elena didn't stop. She saw me coming. She saw all of you too. The silence pulsed. Then her daughter whispered, We were just worried. Elena tilted her head. No, you were threatened. More silence. I stopped asking for permission to be angry. That scared you. Her granddaughter finally spoke. Grandma, did the house really choose you? Elena looked at her, eyes soft. No, I chose myself. The house simply held the space for me to finally do it. Later that day, she walked to the west wing alone. Mia followed. Elena, I didn't mean what I said. I was just trying to keep peace. Elena stopped. That's the same excuse I used when I kept shrinking. She didn't say it cruelly. She said it like someone remembering her own patterns too clearly. That night, the villa groaned. Rain returned, the lights flickered, and then a knock on the sealed door, not loud, just once. Elena and Mia stood together. Neither reached for the knob. Then, a voice from behind the door, faint, feminine. Let me in. They froze. It wasn't Elena's voice, and it wasn't Mia's. It sounded like someone Elena had almost forgotten. The next morning, the air smelled different, like paper and cedar, and something older than memory. Elena found Mia in the study, holding a small black case, rectangular, dusty, heavy with presents. Where did you find it? Elena asked. Mia looked pale. In the sealed room, under the table. It wasn't there before. Inside, a USB drive, etched with a name Elena hadn't spoken aloud in weeks. Clarissa. The villa's library had a projector, tucked behind a velvet curtain no one had touched in years. Elena closed the curtains, dimmed the lights, and pressed play. The screen flickered, and then she appeared. Clarissa, older, elegant, wearing black, seated in the very same sunroom Elena now claimed as her own. The same light, the same sea in the background, only the voice was different. Sharp, direct. "If you're watching this," Clarissa began, "then the house let you stay." Elena's breath caught. "I never had children, but I had family, and I gave them everything. Time, money, apologies, and when I had nothing left, they took the rest. This house, my last piece of peace, was nearly stolen from me in court, but I outlived them, and outsmarted them. So I wrote a different kind of will." Clarissa looked into the camera, eyes softening. "This house will belong to one woman, a woman who was forgotten, a woman who gave endlessly, quietly, a woman who never asked to be chosen, and was punished for it." She leaned forward. "If that's you, then you're not just the owner. You're the next gatekeeper." Elena sat still. The words settled on her like silken stone. On screen, Clarissa lifted a small box, the very one Mia had given Elena weeks ago. Inside it, in the video, were handwritten deeds and one final letter. "You'll find what you need in the West Wing," Clarissa said. "Behind the wallpaper, beneath the portrait that turns itself. And when you find it, don't just protect it. Choose who's worthy of it. Because the house is no longer mine. It's yours." The screen went dark. No music, no signature, just silence. A silence that made Elena feel known, fully, finally. She exhaled, long, deep, and smiled. Mia sat beside her. "She saw you before you even knew yourself," she whispered. Elena nodded. "She left the house to someone who would never sell it." Mia said nothing, because she understood. That evening, Elena gathered her family in the courtyard. Her daughter, her granddaughter, the remaining few who hadn't fled or faded. She didn't play the video. She didn't need to. She simply said, "This house belongs to me, fully, legally, spiritually." Her daughter swallowed. "I never wanted—" Elena raised a hand. "It's okay. I needed to know what you came for, and what you stayed for." She turned to her granddaughter. "This place will outlive me. But I won't outlive the pain if I leave it to someone who doesn't understand it." Her granddaughter nodded slowly. "I want to earn that. I want to learn you." Elena smiled. "Good, because the gates don't open for everyone." Later that night, Elena returned to the sealed room. A note had appeared on the table, in Clarissa's handwriting. "You know what must come next." And beneath it, the deed, with a blank space beside. "Inheritance recipient." A space only Elena could now fill. The invitations were handwritten, just 3 words on soft linen paper. "Come to dinner. Confess." Elena placed them on each bedroom door. No names, no instructions. By 6 p.m., the table was set. One long oak plank, weathered and waxed by time. Candles flickering in tall brass holders. No music, no background noise, just plates, glasses, and the weight of expectation. They arrived slowly. Her daughter, eyes wary, posture rehearsed. Her granddaughter, quiet, holding a notebook in her lap. Mia didn't sit. She stood in the shadows, watching, always watching. Elena entered last, wearing black, hair pinned, a silver pendant around her neck, Clarissa's key. She did not smile. She only said, "Tonight, the villa chooses. Not me, not you, the truth." They didn't understand yet, but they would. The first course was served, soft soup, rosemary and root. Elena raised her glass. "Each of you has had time to think, to reflect, to hide. Now you will speak, not excuses, not intentions, truth. And I will decide who stays." Her daughter spoke first. "I resented you," she said, "because you never broke, and I felt like I was always falling apart. You made it look easy. So I stopped asking how hard it was." Elena nodded, said nothing. Her daughter continued. "And when you got this place, I thought it was a reward you didn't earn, because I'd forgotten how much you gave. But I see it now, and I'm sorry." She looked down and cried. Then, the granddaughter. "I read your letters. At first I thought they were sad, but they were real. And I realized, I don't know you, not really. But I want to." She placed her notebook on the table. Inside, sketches, notes, her own reflections on Elena's stories. "If the house wants someone to remember you, I want it to be me." Mia stepped forward, placed the deed on the table. Blank space, still waiting. Elena stood, walked slowly to the head of the table, looked at them both. Her daughter, still crying, her granddaughter, still brave. She picked up a pen, paused, and said, "Clarissa left this house to a woman who gave everything and then gave herself back to herself. That is the legacy I choose to pass on." She wrote one name, slowly, clearly, her granddaughter's. Her daughter gasped, but Elena held up a hand. "You're not being cast out," she said gently, "but you are being asked to learn. You can visit, but this place, its weight, its memory, belongs to someone who's willing to carry it without breaking me in the process." Mia stepped forward again, lit a candle in the center of the table. "The villa has voted," she said softly, not in anger, but in preservation. Elena sat down, at peace. For the first time in her entire life, she wasn't surviving a room, she was commanding it. That night, Elena passed the sealed door once more. For the first time, it stood open on its own. Inside, a new letter, in her own handwriting, one she didn't remember writing. It read, "Prepare, the gates are opening, but not everyone walking in is here to heal." The villa was quiet again, not empty, just settled, like a sea that had finally stopped fighting the wind. Elena walked barefoot across the cold stone floors, stopping in each room, looking, listening. It wasn't grief she felt anymore. It wasn't even anger. It was clarity. She had outlived the version of herself that accepted scraps. She had arrived at the woman she was always meant to be. And now, she would choose who stayed and who did not. She gathered them in the sunroom that afternoon. No wine, no ceremony, just words. "I will not be visited," she said plainly. "I will be accompanied." Her daughter sat still, hands folded. "I want to be better," she said. Elena nodded. "Then start somewhere else." Her daughter blinked. "You're asking me to leave?" "No," Elena said. "I'm asking you to grow, and I don't think this house is where you'll do that." The granddaughter stood. "I'll stay," she said, "if you'll teach me." Elena looked at her, not with pride, not with warmth, with certainty. "You already know how to listen," she said. "That's the hardest part." Mia brought out tea, placed it gently between them. The silence between the three women was not tense. It was sacred, a silence full of choice. By dusk, the bags were packed. Her daughter kissed her cheek. "I wasn't ready to lose you." Elena smiled. "You didn't. You just had to meet me again." As the car pulled away, the gates groaned and locked themselves behind her, without command. The house, it seemed, had made its decision too. Later that night, Elena found Mia in the wine room. The bottle Clarissa had opened was gone. In its place, a new one, with a single tag. "Legacy?" Mia poured 2 glasses. They clinked them quietly. "To what we protect," Mia whispered. Elena nodded. "To what we finally keep for ourselves." That night, Elena slept peacefully. No whispers, no dreams, no doors creaking in the dark. But just before dawn, the bell at the gate rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Elena stepped onto the balcony in her robe. At the end of the long driveway stood a man, tall, still, holding a box. Mia appeared beside her, her voice lower than usual. "Elena, do you know who that is?" Elena squinted. "No." But the house did. The lights in the west wing flickered once, then again. The portrait in the hallway turned to face the wall. Again, they went down together. The gate opened without a sound. The man stepped forward, eyes soft, but unreadable. "I'm sorry to come without warning," he said. "My mother was Clarissa's sister." Elena froze. He held out the box. "She asked me to deliver this if I ever heard the house was occupied again." Elena took the box. Heavy, wooden, familiar. Inside, a stack of letters, bound in silk. Clarissa's seal on each one, and one envelope with Elena's name. Her full name, which she hadn't told anyone. Not even Mia. Elena stood at the gate, the same one she had once passed through in silence, trembling, unsure if she deserved what waited on the other side. Now, she stood tall, strong, shoes firm against the gravel. Across from her stood the man, Clarissa's nephew. The last letter gripped in her hand. It read, "He doesn't know everything, but he carries something of yours, something he was told never to open, until you gave him permission." She looked at the box again, still unopened, still patient, like the house, like her. They sat in the sunroom, the same one Clarissa had once used to record her final will, now washed in a softer light. The man, Thomas, spoke carefully. "I didn't know her well. She was estranged from the family. Said they didn't listen." Elena smiled faintly. "I understand that." He set the box on the table. "She told me, when the right woman finds the house, she'll know what to do with what's inside." Elena stared at the lock. "No key?" she asked. Thomas smiled. "She said the key isn't metal, it's memory." That night, Elena walked the halls again. One final time, she touched every wall, every painting, every door she had once feared. The house was calm now, alive but resting. She carried the box into the sealed room, lit one candle, opened her journal, and wrote, "I was never too much. I was never dramatic. I was simply unheard in a room full of people who never learned to sit with pain." She placed the journal beside the box, took a breath, and whispered, "I forgive you." She wasn't speaking to Clarissa, or Thomas, or even her children. She was speaking to the part of herself that waited decades to be seen. The box clicked open. Inside, photos, a necklace, a small envelope marked ES, her initials. She opened it. Inside, a letter from Clarissa, dated 10 years ago. "I saw your name on a small donation you made once, to a women's shelter. No one noticed it, but I did. You gave, even when you had nothing. That's how I knew. This house wasn't just for healing. It was for continuing. If you choose to open the gates again, don't fill it with guests. Fill it with others like you, women no one listens to, women ready to remember themselves. You are not just the gatekeeper. You are the builder now." At dawn, Elena stood at the gate again. The air was crisp. Golden light spilled across the courtyard. The sea hummed in the distance. Thomas was leaving. The house had nothing more for him. He hugged her gently. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For reminding me that legacy isn't always blood. Sometimes it's witness." She nodded and closed the gate behind him. Weeks passed. Mia remained. So did her granddaughter, now a quiet apprentice of sorts, drawing blueprints, writing letters of her own. Together, they repainted walls, restored doors, reopened Clarissa's writing desk, now Elena's. And then, the first letter arrived, not from family, from a stranger, a woman in her 70s, widowed, no place to go, tired of being invisible. She'd heard of a house, a villa, that welcomed women like her. Elena read the letter, smiled, looked at the gates, and said, "Let her in." That evening, Elena stood in the doorway of the villa, golden light behind her. She wore the silver pendant, the same key Clarissa once held. Her granddaughter stood beside her. Mia, too. A car approached slowly down the path. Another woman, another forgotten story, another beginning. Elena whispered, "She's right on time." The gate opened, and the house, once again, welcomed her home.